So in the last lecture, I left you with a bit of a cliffhanger, right? I said it's really not great to be returning HTML code through a string here inside of the views file. We need to put it in a separate template. So that's what we're going to be covering here, is what are templates and how should I use them? So a template basically is a way for you to separate the HTML from these views here, but it also gives you the option to plug in some Django code inside of those templates so that they're not always the same thing. That's why they have the name templates. Sort of gives you a starting point, but they can be customized depending on what the user is asking for. So in our project, we need to create a folder that's going to hold our templates. So go to the topmost level folder of your project. In this case, it's the word count -project. We're going to do a right click, say new folder, and we'll just call it simply templates. Okay, so now you can see inside of here we have the word count folder and we have this templates folder. Now, a quick note that I'd really like to emphasize here, because I've seen a couple of problems come up in the Q&A, is that your templates folder needs to be in the top level root directory of your project, right? That word count -project, it's right inside of that. It's not inside of that next word count folder where you have like settings and all that. Make sure it's at the top level or else you're going to run into issues. And inside of this templates folder, let's add our first HTML file. So we're going to right click this, we're going to say new file. And because we want a page for our home page, let's call it something like home.html. Okay. So now that this templates folder has this home.html, we've got to figure out how, when someone is requesting the home page, how do we send them to home.html? Well, there's a couple of steps here. The first one is we have to tell Django where it should be looking for these templates. So if we go to our word count settings here and we scroll down, oh, I'm at the very top or the bottom. So let's scroll down from the top. We're going to look for the template section. Here we go. This little brackets here is going to be a list of places it should be looking for these templates. And so let's add the templates directory that we put right there. So I'm just going to go ahead and simply type templates, just like that, a string inside of this these brackets. So it's a list of one here, and it's basically saying, hey, you should look inside of that folder for templates. So just go ahead and save that. And then the next thing that we need to do is inside of our views.py, we need to say, okay, if someone wants the home page, instead of returning this HTTP response, we should give them back the home.html. So in order to do that, we need to import some code into our project. So up here at the top on a new line, we'll say from lowercase Django dot shortcuts with an S import lowercase render. So this is another example of like, well, how am I going to remember these HTTP response and render? Like which ones are uppercase, lowercase? You're just going to have to look it up. Don't worry about memorizing it. But now that we have this render, instead of returning an HTTP response, we can say return render, and we need to pass two things inside of here. So first is the request object. So I'll just go ahead and paste that in there. And we're also going to pass in the name of the HTML file that we're trying to send people to, which should be this home.html. So I'm going to type in home.html. And with this, it should send them to the home page. But the problem is right now we don't have anything inside of our home.html. So let's just add something to see if this is even working. So I'm going to say something like, this is HTML fam, something like that. So make sure you have all your files saved. Let's go back to our home page and we'll go ahead and hit enter there. And boom, look at that. This is HTML fam. So the big thing that we just accomplished here is that instead of returning all the information right here inside of this views.py, we can say, oh, here's the request object, which again has some information about the user. And also we're going to give you, this is the home.html that we want to send back. So then it ultimately just spits back whatever is inside of here. So now inside of this document, this is where we could spice things up. Like we could, again, do like our H1 tag here and say word count, something like that. And we'll go ahead and tag that up. Let's see what this looks like now. It's nice, big, and in bold. If you have any questions about using HTML, I'm going to sort of try and teach the basics as I go, but if you have any questions, there's some great resources online. But one cool thing that I want to show you here is that these HTML files are not just any regular old HTML file. We can actually run some Python code inside of here. So for example, as I'm listing out the word count, let's say I wanted to send in some special information. We're going to do this when we're going to pass through what the word count is for a particular set of text. But in this render, I can pass the request, the name of the HTML file, but also if I do a comma, I can pass forward a dictionary with any amount of information that I want. So for example, I could say I'm going to pass in for a key, hi there, and I can say colon, and then pass through something like some text that says, this is me. All right. So for example, we come back to this home.html. I can put in curly brackets here. You do 2 curly brackets on the left, 2 on the right. This now allows you to write some Python code. Now, technically, it's not like anything you want. I can't start doing calculations. But for example, anything that we pass through here, like through this dictionary, this map, I can now say, what was the name of this here? Hi there. We can't have a space there. So we'll have it hi there like that. If I pass it through like right here and hit save, instead of showing the curly brackets and hi there, it'll show whatever the value is right here. So we'll come back, reload that, and look, it says this is me. So it's kind of cool that you can customize the little bits and pieces there. So just to recap one more time, because we've sort of complicated the flow of information one step more, when someone comes to our home page, that is going to come to our urls.py, and it's going to say, oh, they wanted the home page here. Let's send them to views.homepage. We go to the views.py, go to this function, and it says, oh, we should send them to this home.html, and we're going to pass through some custom information and the request in case we want to access that. And then it's going to come to this file, and this is ultimately what gets back to the user. So there you've got it, a little bit of information on templates there. Now let's move forward and actually talk about how we can accomplish the goal of the website. The user enters some text and we start counting it.